Welcome to Swimming with Sepsey, where we break down various life topics, bring on inspirational guests to talk about their lives, their experiences, and encourage you to swim through your own inner thoughts, emotions, and feelings to inspire a change within you that will hopefully lead to an outer change in your own personal reality. I ask that throughout this episode and all future episodes that you come with an open mind, an open heart, and a willingness to look at yourself in a different way and to look at the world in a different way. I'm grateful for each and every one of you that's tuned in this current moment, and I look forward to sharing many more moments with you. And with that, let's dive on in.
One.
Let's go! Light it
I get to
up,
do it this time,
up,
guys.
light it up, oh, she's on fire!
This is my promotion here. He's been getting songs stuck in my head all day. It's literally just been this.
It's on fire! Welcome to, hopefully that song gets stuck in your head for the rest of the day. And it pumps you up and gets you rolling because you are on fire. Welcome to Swimming with Sepsey with your host, Joshua Sepsey.
Woo!
Yeah.
Give it up. Give
Yeah,
it up.
Give it up for him. Yeah. Hang on down. And your co-host, Nicki Tama Chesky. Ow, 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 ow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Clap for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I got one of those flamenco claps. Flamenco, like the...
You get the...
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Oh, and as always, special mention guest, Freya.
Oh, yeah, Freya. You guys can finally see her. I think she popped in one of the last episodes.
She did her little
If you were really paying attention.
Yeah, her
if you
little
really
face
watched
in
the whole thing.
bottom corner.
Yeah.
She popped in. She's making a special appearance here underneath the table. She's like, "Shut up, Dad."
Yeah, because usually we'll talk to her, and then the audience is probably like, "Who the hell
Can't
is she?"
see her at
Yeah.
all.
What does she look like?
Finally, you can see my little love
Yeah,
bug.
she's cute.
Today, before we get into the topic, announcements. Apologize on the lack of meditation posts. I have to build them all out, and they take a minute for me to kind of get a cool melody. Had some people like the other one, so I'm actually gonna make the melody and the beat with the meditation, so it'll be like that little 10-15 minute meditation, and then I might even just make and just track it out really long, so you guys have like hour long like instrumental to just kind of vibe to or whatever, since they seem to be, at least in my opinion and what I've heard, that they are kind of nice, at least the last one. So definitely going to do that for you guys as well. Give me some grace though, it's just me, so give me some time. Other announcements. I have a couple people actually helping me with designs for t-shirts. So I have one design in, and then I'm getting another design in the next couple weeks. And then for those that want to support, for Nicki and I to continue to do this, continue to have the space and time to create these episodes and create the things that we have, you can support by just getting a t-shirt. And I'll post the designs here either on my website or on Instagram at Swimming with Sepsey. Please subscribe. If you like the video, subscribe on our YouTube. It's awesome. If you listen on Spotify, that's great. If you listen on Spotify, pop over to YouTube and just hit the subscribe button. It definitely helps us out. I'm trying to reach a nice little goal, 100 subscribers. We're currently at 65. So
nice.
We're getting there. I want 100 by August. And in a year's time, we'll have 100, so that'll be great. When we lost on my birthday, so October 14th. But anyways, also announcement. Love every single one of you. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Seriously, you guys. Beautiful blessings. Love even the comments, even when they get heated. I think it's fun. I think it's funny. So it's
gets heated?
Fun. Well, I've had some comments that get pretty heated. That's why I say keep your mind open, to each their own. Yeah. Have your comments. I love them.
Regardless, we appreciate it.
Yeah, regardless. Today's topic is one that, I mean, we all share everything. But this one in particular, I know I've dealt with on various things. I know people that I've met have dealt with it. I've helped people through it. I've had to help myself through it. We're talking about addiction. Cue the ominous music.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not a scary one, but
it's shameful.
Yes, exactly.
And it's hard to admit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to come to terms with.
Yeah. But I have, and not only do I have, but Akash has a lot to say about this topic. And I want to kind of get back to our regular schedule. I know we've had different, a guest, and we had kind of like broad spectrums, and we haven't really gone back into like just human things like emotions, feelings, and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So I think going back to this addiction aspect, we're going to talk a little bit about what it is, what happens to the body, what happens to the mind, the repetitive patterns. We're going to talk about the DNA. We're going to talk about the habits. We're also going to talk about ways to break that, little tools and tricks and tips to kind of help break it, overcome it. We actually did a meditation that was kind of cool. It's kind of focused on the changes and the things. It was very, very relevant. And so we're going to kind of go in and, as you know, whatever question pops into Nicki's beautiful mind comes out. She's always that little light in that end, which is really cool. To start off, we're going to talk a little bit about what is an addiction. The thing is, it's anything that you do repetitively that becomes a habit, that becomes a subconscious habit that can either A, help you, or B, harm you. It works in both ways. You can have an addiction to coffee. That may be able to help you throughout your day, but you're addicted to the caffeine. You need it. You start getting the withdrawals if you don't have it. Mm. Same thing with anything else. It could be cigarettes. It could be alcohol. It could be OCD. In what they're saying is like a form of addictive behavior.
Yeah.
Right? You're constantly having to have things a certain way, and it's addictive to the mind. It needs to be that way. It becomes something you rely on. And some people don't like it. Some have a really serious case where I remember listening to somebody who was like, dude, I had to touch the stove 15 times. If I didn't do it the right way, I just couldn't leave. And you were stuck in a loop, in a pattern. That's
crazy, because sometimes I've heard people say it's linked to paranoia too, in a way where it's if this doesn't happen, then some bad outcome is gonna happen.
Oh,
it's
really?
I've heard that too. Some people kind of
a cause and effect. If I don't do this, if you break a mirror, 7 years bad luck kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I think it comes from maybe that's just an extra layer after already having this just feeling they need to do that already, and I feel that's just a thing where it's well, I've always done this, and if I don't, and if I break this, who knows what's gonna happen? I'm just gonna make sure my day is exactly how I've experienced it or whatever.
Have you ever fought with addiction before?
Yeah, many addictions. I would say substance wise, like, yeah, like certain things that I would like to
you don't have to say
yeah, I was gonna say yeah. But I'll just leave it at that. Like some substances, yes, but like also
this ain't an AA meeting.
Because I was gonna say, bro, you get me on that chord, I'll just start breaking down, crying, and apologizing to everybody.
I'm so sorry.
No, but yeah, I feel like there's like a lot of addictions. Like I even find myself just finding like being addicted to like sometimes just depending on emotion. Like it could be food, it could be like some types of entertainment. Like not currently, but like I've like felt that way in the past of like sometimes I'll be like I don't know, like going through different like eating like behaviors because like I'm either feeling like I don't know, like I'm overcompensating for something else. Like I've had both where I've like just never like haven't eaten a lot.
Yeah.
And then I've also just been like, damn, like I binge, and then I just like starve myself in that binge, and I go through those like phases too.
Okay.
And then,
but like a lot of women deal with that. I'll be honest.
I feel like I feel like girls go through that probably a lot.
Yeah.
Because I feel like emotionally, well, at least for me, it stems from like. Yeah, like we're feeling certain emotions we don't really know how to deal with, or maybe I didn't know how to deal with. I'll just talk from my own experience. Like, I don't know how to deal with, and then like, so I'm like looking for like escape or like something to kind of like just make me feel good in the moment. So then I'll just be in this like, well, I know this isn't forever. I'll just like kind of come into this cycle of like, you know, let me just like do this all right now, and then like tomorrow it'll be fine. But then it's like. You could fall into that cycle multiple times, or even like.
That's the common thought. You know, I feel like that's every addiction's thought. Like, we give ourselves the grace in that moment to indulge, and then we say, but tomorrow's different. Like, I'll be all right. And then you indulge, and it, you know, for a couple days or weeks, you're all right.
Yeah.
And then it comes right back, sometimes stronger. And so that's like, how do we fight that? Because I mean, I've experienced that as well. And many people, I appreciate you for bringing that up and kind of coming out with it and being honest. It's not easy. It's not something that a lot of people. And I also found out just with people I've met that have that kind of similar thing with like the eating. There's not much help out there. It's not like AA and other things. Where they have like it's like talked about, because I think one of the things with eating, it's like, it's just food. It's not as bad as alcohol, or you know. But then we look at what food does to our bodies, and it's like, well, it's up there.
Yeah,
it's still in par with that. You're shifting the body's hormones and you know what the body has based on like your feelings, and then it becomes this addictive process, because when you're flooding your system with that, your body goes, oh great, we're getting all of this to fuel the less, well, let's just call it and I don't know if it's endorphins or if it's I'm trying to bring me the term here. What is it that gets released? Drawing a blank.
Are you talking about when someone eat like?
It's like when you get like that sugar intake. It's like a endorphin rush or something along those lines.
Like dopamine or something.
Dopamine. Thank you. I knew it started with a D. And like, so you get that, and then your body doesn't really create the right. Over time, your body stops creating those things to fight that. Right? You have a natural way to fight or release dopamine, but since we've been flooding it with sugars and other things that help that to get that dopamine rush, and then like scrolling on Instagram or scrolling on your phone for hours, you know, gives you those little dopamine hits. Like, our body like doesn't have time to regulate itself, and so it's like, it's all my dopamine, like where is all this? You know, so when you cut cold turkey or you stop, you go through those withdrawals because your body's trying to reset, and it's like, I need it, where is it, right? And so that's when you can go a couple weeks without it or a couple days without it, depending on the severity of your body's need for it, and then it until it tries to overcome you and kicks back in. But if you actually push through that, you fast. I think fasting is a big thing that allows the internal cells to die off and reset, like the gut reset, and then the gut connects to the brain and allow that to reset. You fast for 2 days or so, just water and lemons. Like, it can really help override that process. It may take some time because then you have the mental, like, thought, subconscious need for it. So then once you start going through the bodily process of overcoming the addiction, then you go through the mental process of overcoming the addiction. Like, why do I need this? What has stemmed from me starting to do this? And those kind of things. We went right into that. I thought we were going to get there a little later, but we're there now. But I mean, I've dealt with that, and that's one thing that I found was really tough. I had to push myself to go through it, actually. I would be in the middle of the addiction part and then have to bring that awareness and then turn myself around. I've dealt with nicotine addiction, porn addiction was a big one. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that deal with that. At least I know my age, because I remember being a teen and you get an iTouch or the iPod Touch and you got the internet at your fingertips and you're like, whoa, I can do what? Yeah. And it's all out there. Man, that's insane. It just gets flooded, right? And then your system, and that's like a big dopamine rush. Oh. And so dealing with that was tough. I've dealt with, I think those are the only big two that I really struggled with. And I appreciate all the people that were in my life to kind of show me and had kind of start to bring it out. The nicotine thing is definitely one that I think.
Nicotine is it's crazy how addictive.
Dude, the cigarettes.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
I remember when I was smoking the cigarettes.
Yeah.
I remember I told myself, I was so glad I made this promise to myself and the overcoming of it. But I was like, if I ever reach a pack a day, I'm done. And I remember I had the American Spirits, the light blue pack, and I finished a whole pack on our back patio, and I was I looked at it and I was like,
today's the day.
That's it. I crush it. So I switched to the vapes and vape for a little while, and then slowly kind of shifted off to where I don't necessarily need those anymore. But
nice.
I found that it also mostly comes from a mental capacity. And I think if you can pause yourself in the moment of you acting on the addiction and come to some point of awareness of how is this actually making me feel? Right? Not this feels good in my body, but mentally, does this align with? And that's where it goes to the question, what am I thinking about now? What does this have to do with me now? And what is really going on now? Does this align? I'm pointing over there because I have them written on a whiteboard of the questions that I ask. So if I'm in my room and I see it, I can see it and align myself back. But I think that's the hardest part. Is it in the midst of it, can you be strong enough to go, this isn't aligned with who I want to be? How do I come out of this? And I will say this, and I've talked to a lot of people about this. I want to hear your thoughts on it too. I remember going to SAA meetings, which is Sex Addict Anonymous, and I remember going to. I actually accidentally sat in on an AA meeting. When I thought I was like, oh, I'm actually in the wrong place. I'm supposed to be in the one next door, and I was there, but they speak on the same principles. One of the things that I went a couple times, I had a hard time with constantly saying, hi, my name is Joshua, I'm a sex addict. And it was tough because every time that I went there, I constantly felt wrong and didn't like saying it. If you think about it, when we talked about manifestation, and we talked about things you speak and the things you say are what create your reality. Mm-hmm. When you go to those, and not discrediting them at all, I've seen them and do amazing things for people that need it. You're constantly reaffirming that as your identity. Mm-hmm. And it took me I went 3 or 4 times until it was well, I understand what we're talking about, what we're trying to do here. Don't think this is helping me at all. I think it's only reaffirming this. Mm-hmm. And this I need to shift out of this identity. It's not who I am. It's something that my body craved at the time in the past. And I fell into this cyclical cycle. I fell into this cyclical pattern mm-hmm. of this feeling like my identity. And I didn't know who I was without it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
That's what I was going to say is a huge part of it is identity and honestly sometimes culture. Because, I feel like if you're... What helps you, keep encouraging the addiction sometimes is, for instance, I'm not saying marijuana is bad at all, but, if you're feeling like you don't want to, do it anymore, I remember, it started affecting me, in ways I didn't want it to, just negatively, just for my mental health and stuff. And I had a hard time, letting go of it because of, the culture around it. I would always do it with my friend. You know what I mean? It was an identity thing for sure. It was who am I without it? You said it perfectly. Who am I without this?
Who am I without it? Yeah. And I think, I believe that's what keeps it going. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you've never really sat with yourself. And so you use a lot of these to cope with things going on in your life. And that's totally understandable. I mean, we do that with everything.
Yeah.
Because we don't understand how to express our own emotions and our feelings to ourselves mostly, right? Let alone trying to do it with someone else. But when you can't sit with yourself and understand your own emotions, mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm feeling right now. It just feels like blah.
Yeah, so overwhelming. So
just be with the blah.
Yeah, that's the hardest part is that people want to just escape that and avoid it. But yeah. And a lot of the times, too, I feel... Sorry, now I'm, thinking about... I feel like society... Well, I'm not going to blame everything on society, but a lot of the time... but society, I feel like a lot of the times, too, I even know some people... I feel like it's common. People face, a true medical condition. Yeah. And, whether it's, mental or, I don't know, physical, something's wrong, physically. I feel like there's, just perceptions around, these, diagnoses. There's perceptions of, oh, if this is a mental health issue or if this is, a physical issue.
Okay.
There could be both, after effects of how that makes them feel inside of that category or whatever.
Oh.
And then I feel like people will medicate themselves because of that, and this is on top of the thing that they're already struggling with.
So for example, if you're you're diagnosed bipolar, mm-hmm. and then you put yourself in the box and you do all this research on bipolar, mm-hmm. and you say that's me, that's my identity.
Yeah.
I would say that's a different. I mean, okay, I'm not going to discredit it, but I don't know if it's on the lines of addiction.
Yeah. Well, because I was even... Well, I wasn't thinking that exact, but I was there with you. But, even someone who doesn't even know that they have that, and then is, then they're, trying to, medicate themselves, and they think they're all wrong. There's this society, perceptions,
to keep you from being that.
Yeah. Because it's something's wrong with me. Or, mm-hmm. I'm not normal, I'm not like everybody. Isolation comes in, and even people who know, the diagnoses or whatever, let's say you have something wrong with yourself or whatever, then it's okay, I'm still gonna isolate because, I don't feel like I'm really being heard, maybe, or, maybe people don't think it's as serious as I, I don't know. I don't really know, you know what? Yeah, maybe. Or, the whole just, processing, what's going on with them.
Okay, so we're saying you're using it, so your mind believes you're using it as a crutch or a fix. for what's wrong with you.
Yeah. I think that's common too.
And so you don't see it, but other people see it. Like, whoa, you're doing this too. Like alcohol. You're using it a lot of times to escape reality.
Yeah.
Same thing sometimes with marijuana. Same thing with anything.
Yeah.
When I hear people say, I need it to function.
That's so common, dude. Especially with marijuana.
Yeah. Well, and marijuana is, I will say this. I don't believe marijuana is addictive.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I believe you can, like, this is going to sound funny. I believe that you can believe yourself to believe that you need it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think, like, the actual plant itself is addictive, but I think just like anything, it could become a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that...
And whether that habit...
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
like I said earlier, it can be harm or helpful.
Exactly, yes.
Right? Because I know some people that smoke all the time.
Yeah.
They function perfectly fine.
My sister, bro. My sister's like that. She's
totally
like...
fine.
And I'm the exact opposite. And I still wanted to do it, and I would just be like, I'm going to try it again, see how it goes.
Well, let's find out. See where I'm at this time. I can't... So, like, weed and me now... I used to smoke a lot. I used to smoke every day. And then, was it episode 5 of the podcast?
Yeah.
The Rude Awakening.
Same.
That whole story happened.
Same, bro.
And then I remember, like, I was able to smoke even after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I recently stopped maybe, I don't know, last time I smoked was with Emily probably a year ago when I first moved into this place.
Mm-hmm.
And, like... Even then, like, it was fun and enjoyable. Maybe it's the people I'm around, but, like, a part of me feels like I go, like, lower into frequency. Like, I don't sit at a space where it's, like, I mean, yeah, a little light, but I also feel like I get too deep into this headspace.
Yeah.
And this almost paranoia comes in, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
I don't feel as clear or as connected.
And that was one of the hardest parts, like, psychologically. Now that we're talking about marijuana, that was, like, hard, is, like, because I felt the same way, but I kept seeing it as, like, oh, this is going to help me see all the nasty, toxic, horrible, negative things in my mind, so I can literally, like, after this horrible experience I have, then I'll be like, okay, wow. Like, I have, like, almost, like, just something, like... to kind of flip around on.
Yeah.
And it was like still things where I was like, okay, in the moment this feels like...
It's like therapy.
Like therapy, yeah. And then like, even though in the moment I wasn't necessarily like thinking like, oh, this is paranoid, I was like believing these certain things. Like I would believe like crazy things. And then afterwards I would just be like... Well, that was good for me to see the possibility of truly believing, like, this super negative thing and just, like, yeah, whatever, feeling all those negative things, like, because now that I'm not, like, under this influence, it's, like, yeah, there's a bright side, and then I also know, like, okay, that's good to keep me in check, but I know I overcame that belief because I know, like, my mind is, like... what determines like my reality, so I could see like where the delusions took me, and I could see how negative that was, and all in that like short time frame.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I'd be like, okay, like who knows if this is true, like maybe this could be an alternate reality or whatever, of like who's to say it's not true, because I surely believed it like a half hour ago. But now it's like, well, I'm making peace with that negative reality and just choosing to believe like this is the one that I want and that I'm living in right now.
Yeah, that's like what I'm talking about when you're in the addiction, and you can bring the awareness as you're acting on it to be like, this isn't in alignment. I'm going like you're going through that like dark space in marijuana when you're going through that hard space of like drinking or sucking down cigarettes or acting on things that like, go against who you are, but you are stuck and you don't know a way out, and you don't know any other way, right? If you can bring the awareness to, whoa, and you can pull yourself out in the moment, that right there is a powerful way to change who you are. I would say that's way stronger than you going to see someone about the addiction. I'm going to stand on this. You're going to need both. But I will say, unless you can pull yourself out of giving yourself that grace to act on this and see yourself and experience the kind of like physical torment that it takes to be like, no, like this isn't who I want to be. Like I've been stuck in this, and God, every time it ends up like this, and until you can, in the moment, pull yourself out of that and say, enough is enough, it's going to creep back slowly and slowly every time.
Yeah.
A new trauma is going to happen. Something in your life is going to happen. It's going to sink you right into this space of, oh, I need a cigarette. Oh, I need a drink. Oh, I need to, running can be even addictive. Like anything can really be addictive. Like
true.
I need
Like
coffee.
working out and stuff.
I need to go work. Like you're just pounding yourself into this body. But it really becomes a mental game. All in all, it's a mental game, because what is an addiction but suppressing the mental to feed the physical body of the hormones that you're not getting, the endorphins that you're not getting, because your mental can't handle it, your emotional state can't handle it. So it's all in the mind. If your mind can overcome this one and you can beat the mental space into some sort of quote unquote submission and like be like, no, then you begin to override the DNA of the addiction that you've built into your coding, so to speak, your frequency, right? It's become part of you. It's identified as you. So when you recognize, and I believe they want me to retouch back on this, because they were like, Josh, the reason that we say I am this, and the reason they do this in the thing is because they have to bring it to your awareness first. And it has to sink in of, oh, okay, that is who I am in this present moment. But I can change that. So, yes, it is great that they do that. But over time, they're saying that there's no need to, when you feel like that's going against who you are, that's when you need to move. That's when you need to go seek other ways to grow yourself and change yourself. That's when you pull yourself out of constantly going to the meetings, because then you're needing to create a new identity, because now that's becoming your addiction.
Interesting.
You can argue with me all you want, and that's totally fine. Again, that's why I say come with an open mind and have an open thing. But if you feel like you still need it, then continue to go. I'm not saying stop. I'm just saying when it starts to, they're saying when it, I am and they are, we're saying this together. When it starts to feel like, whoa, this is getting repetitive and I keep doing this and I'm seeing the great changes, great, but what am I outside of this? Who am I outside of this?
Yeah.
That's where you really need to go back to.
Yeah.
It's a space, it's supposed to be like a bus stop.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be a permanent home. It's supposed to be a bus stop. We're stopping here for a little while because I need to reset the mental and the physical body, and I need that support, and I gotta get that support. And then once I get that, I gotta, in that time frame, I also gotta find who I am, what I love to do, and who I am outside of this addiction or this person that I believed I was. Where am I actually? Who am I actually?
Hopefully,
let's go on that journey.
Yeah, like a couple things popped in my mind when you're saying that. I could see one, because your mind has such like a powerful way of like hiding things from you, where it's like you could totally fall into another box just as you're climbing out of another box, and I could see that like totally being a thing. But I would hope that the program recognizes that and then like would try to help you with that identity part too. But I don't know. I've never been to like AA meetings. I hope that they would know that though.
They go through steps. They have like certain 12 steps, and you got to go through. There's like, I don't know them by heart because like I said, I wasn't a part of it for very long. But they do it in a way where it slowly will bring you out, and they push you to find things. But I would say that there's a lot of additives that go into it that I feel like are unnecessary. in my opinion. Just as far as, they bring religion into it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I get it. You're trying to get some sort of anchor.
Yeah.
But an anchor shouldn't be, I'm going to stand on this too, an anchor shouldn't be something outside of you. Mm-hmm. If you have an anchor that is outside of you, you're not anchored. You're tethered with a rope. Mm-hmm. That rope is flimsy. That rope can be cut. Your faith can be destroyed. If you're not anchored in self, who I believe to be, who I desire to be, what I aim for in my life, and this is me at my core. I'm going to write all these things down. Boom, that's going to anchor me to this. Why do I want to stay in alignment with who I am? Because one, it makes me feel great. It makes me feel whole as a person. It makes me feel like I have a purpose. It makes me feel aligned. It makes me feel grounded. And so the more that I continue to do these things that keep me in alignment, boom, I feel this way all the time. And if I am in something like some sort of addiction or acting on some sort of addiction, that's my anchor point. And then I go, okay, is what I'm doing making me feel like this anchor point? No? Then why am I doing it? Oh, okay, maybe it's carrying some sort of, wound of, my mother didn't love me enough. It's a really deep wound. Or like there's some sort of attention that I'm missing, or some sort of self-love or self-appreciation or self-worth. And the only way that I can feel that is if I numb the part of me that makes me think I'm not worthy anymore, so I can kind of alleviate. And so a lot of these things act as a numbing, alleviating agent. And that's why I'd say, if you're able to ground yourself and have some sort of anchor to who you are, who you desire to be, then it's easier for you to go, oh, okay. You're holding yourself accountable in that space. And I believe when you have something outside of you, you're holding that person, that thing accountable.
Yeah.
And so when something goes wrong, you're like, well, you failed me.
Yep. That's the biggest danger with religion that I believe too. Yeah. And it sucks because religion just I hate the word religion just because of just literally you know what I'm saying? But just God in general.
That's an addiction too.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, bro. Everything can be an addiction. Literally anything can be an addiction.
You need it.
Yeah.
You gotta have it. And it's okay, it's not a terrible addiction, but it is one that stops you from finding you.
Yeah.
Because all of you becomes wrapped into that.
Yep.
And all of your energy. And when we think about frequency, and we go back to the last episode of humanity as a whole, we're talking about the frequency and the focus and the manifestation part of, if I continue my focus on this, how much energy are we giving religion and how much power are we actually giving those entities in the world? Because we're constantly thinking about them, constantly feeding them, both positive and negative. We're constantly fueling it. And so it's like you have a couple billion people that believe in this one thing and push this one thing. And then they also, their fears, as above, so below, their fears are also creating all this negativity. Mm-hmm. And there's it doesn't really go with the topic of addiction, but maybe we'll do a religion episode. I don't know, maybe. But the one thing with addiction, as they all say, you want to become aware that you have it first. Mm-hmm. And if you are aware of it, accept it and own it, but also give yourself grace to know if you're not ready to overcome it yet. That will actually help you overcome it in the future. Interesting.
Yeah, because I feel like once you, let's say you, can see it as a problem, and then the next layer or the next step in that mentally, I guess, is okay, well, you still have the belief systems of I needed just kind of what you were saying, maybe those belief systems about worthiness and stuff. Yeah. And then then I think you come to a point where it's self-sabotage, you're ruining relationships in your family, your whole life is crumbling down, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go deeper and deeper into that hole and seeing like, oh, this cycle is now becoming too much for me to like live with anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when that point, I think, that where people come to, it's like, and I mean,
it's the stubborn ones too that get you that far.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty as fucking charged. I'm a stubborn I'm a stubborn man.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, and what's crazy is, like, I feel like a lot of people are stubborn, and, like, even if you don't even think of yourself as stubborn, you have some beliefs about yourself that are very stubborn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
that you're like,
that are just your personality.
Like, when someone says something, you're like, and it hurts you, and it's like, you smack them or stand up for yourself. Like, that's a stubbornness. That's like, oh, you're right. I don't have a willingness to change that, though, yet.
Yeah.
Well, I have a willingness to change it, because I definitely have overcome a lot of my stubbornness, but I will say I am a pretty stubborn muff.
Yeah.
And it's definitely gotten way better. But again, I had to be in the moment and be like, this isn't aligning with who I want to be. And it feels great, and it feels lighter. I like, when I live my life now, like day to day, I even catch myself in moments of like, whoa, like, I don't ever have this craving to smoke. I don't ever have this craving to go and fucking sit on my phone and watch porn or do anything like that. Like, my day feels just lighter and more free and more aligned, and I feel like I can breathe. There's not this like nagging energy behind me or nagging thing going, you should do this, like, this is gonna help you, blah blah. It's like, it's gone. And I was like, happened quick. I had to be in that moment of recognizing it's just not who I want to be anymore. And who I want to be is someone completely different. And I don't care that I'm being as real on this. I hope that me being as open and real on this helps someone else become open and real with what they're going on with. That's really the whole message. But I believe that one other thing that we got to talk about too with addiction, as we're getting close to, an hour here, is not only can it be a physical substance or something external that causes some sort of addiction itself, we also have to recognize how that pattern and the habit that you have external is a part of some sort of internal addiction that you also have either emotionally, that is some sort of habit that you desire to always be in, whether that's some sort of self-loathing, because that brings some people to say, dude, no, that's not you, you're this, you're that, and that is a fuel for you. It becomes some sort of addiction, like, I'm doing this because it's some sort of maybe an attention thing, or it could also be an emotional aspect of, I just enjoy this sort of hurt, right?
Yeah,
I enjoy this sort of
that.
like, and it's interesting how it turns into like, you don't want it, but then you're in it and you're like, kind of like this, and it's like really hard for you to admit that, I need to have some sort of self-depreciation about me, right? And it's like, because that becomes then maybe it turns into, this is what drives me, this is what fuels me. And then when things don't pan out, it cycles something into even deeper. And it kind of keeps you in this space of like constant anxiety, constant kind of mental reparations over and over again. And you have this back and forth of like, I know I shouldn't be talking to myself with this way, but this is what gets me to go do this. And if I don't whip myself into shape, like, who is? It's like, well, there's a different way to go about it. You've just never experienced it, and so you become addicted to that, like, like almost like a mental, what do they call it? They're bringing me an image of. Do you ever watch the Da Vinci Code? With Tom, is it Tom
No,
Cruise? Not Tom Cruise. Tom Hanks. There was this priest in there, I think, who would like whip himself, and it was like something he would do to like, And like this, they're giving me this image of like you doing that to yourself, but like mentally. And it's like you like feed it because you think that that's, you know, that becomes an addiction. So when you have that, you're feeding it with external habits, and we don't recognize that it goes so deep, so we're only fixing the external part. And if you don't become aware of the internal part, the external addiction is going to continue to come back over and over and over again until you reach that point of, holy crap, this is destroying my life. What is the actual root of the problem? And you don't go so deep to really recognize that, oh gosh, all of this stems from just my self-worth. All of this stems from me not believing that I actually deserve some sort of love of care of myself, that I can actually give it to myself, that I feel like I have to get it from somewhere else, you know, and it becomes in this all external part of me where you feel like it's just not there. So they wanted me to bring that to light too.
Yeah.
And to recognize that addiction isn't just something that you do, it's also the way that you think, and some sort of emotional addiction to whatever emotional state it has you in, whether that be depression. Some people, you can go the complete opposite entrance of, like, you know, the runners who don't ever give themselves rest or a break, and you're feeling this space, but running brings you that space of like this big endorphin rush and making you feel great and making you feel like lighter and freer. You get addicted to that. You call it a runner's high. I mean, there's so many different ways. And I'm not saying that any of that is bad. I'm not saying any addiction is bad. I'm just saying that some harm you and some help you. It doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. You know, if you need them to cope, allow yourself that time, but just know that there's a way out. And it starts really, really with the mental attitude towards it, and your thoughts towards it, and your thoughts toward yourself, and how you make yourself. I feel like I talked like a million miles a minute there.
Yeah, that was really interesting that you brought that up, because like that made me think like that same thought process happens, I feel, a lot in relationships, and that's kind of what gets you into like these codependencies and like kind of like where you're like looking for this value and like what someone else can make you feel.
Yeah.
And like trying to fill like those spaces with like, and I don't know, I just feel like yeah, like it could be like, because I've noticed a lot like romantically with me, I'll have this like great purpose to be this like person that's has to be like driven and like want to give so much. And I feel like you remember you were saying like not all of it's bad, but I feel like some of those thoughts of like you feeling like you need to be like this person, like I feel like has like an effect on like keeping you in a cycle too. Like,
okay, yeah, I'm following.
Yeah, like yeah. I know I'm kind of like, because I haven't fully wrapped like the concept together, but like,
so it's almost like you're like putting on a mask and that becomes an addiction. Are you saying like, I feel like I have to be this person, I have this image that I built up, that I'm compensating for some sort of part of me?
Yeah, but
maybe not compensating.
Yeah,
but
well, I feel like compensating would be right, but I feel like I'm not sure if mask, because I could feel like that's truly who I am.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
I feel like in a way it's like I'm depleting so much of that person by ways of like overcompensating other ways of being like, oh well, I have to, like, I know I'm this person, but I'm doing it so much in these ways where
it's
I don't even
for someone else.
Yes, it's for something. Yeah, for someone else, and then it's just like,
okay.
Does that make?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's like so you're utilizing someone else to compensate for things that you're not doing for yourself.
I never looked at it like that.
So,
but
like,
that could be it.
There's this like self-worth part, and the more that I do for them, it helps elevate.
Yeah, that feeling like that's Yeah. And I could see, like, my whole family, not to call out my whole family, but I feel like my whole family are, like, really giving people. Yeah. And, like, I just feel like it could be a family thing, too. Like,
could definitely generational. Addiction doesn't just stem from self.
Yeah.
Like, I know, I believe my family, there was alcohol addiction. I believe that there's, like, some sort of DNA that can get passed down as far as what addiction is. And so whatever that is in terms of frequency can get encoded on you. And in order for you to break that so you don't continue to pass it down, you have to live it in your life.
Yeah.
And you have to go through it and see, whoa, I actually have these tendencies. So I have to find balance in the things that I do. But I also just have to become aware of where they're coming from mentally and emotionally.
Mm.
Because if we go back to the as above, so below, our internal mind and subconscious and our emotional states, they work together and they go, all right, so he's going to enter with some sort of addiction. We're not going to know what it is, but depending on what sort of belief that they form about themselves is going to create whatever that addiction may be to give them that frequency. So let's just say, I'll just use me for an example. Let's just say self-love. I'm going to use this just with the porn addiction because it's just real simple. And I believe this is actually what happened. Self-love is something that they missed and misinterpreted as they were growing up emotionally, and then that became combined with some sort of energy or frequency, whether it be sex or porn, and so he's got that addiction. Okay, so boom, that's what we're gonna do. Self-love seems to be something he doesn't understand, and so we're going to compensate with X addiction. And then self-worth maybe have been nicotine. Just kind of putting this out there. And so throughout his life, he's going to be battling this until he understands what self-love really is. And he's also going to be codependent because that's going to be some sort of way that he's going to receive love from someone else and recognize how he's needing it from that, and how he has to recognize in himself that he's not giving himself that self-love and that self-worth. And so there are gonna be these addictions to kind of help balance that out until you learn how to give that to yourself. Then you can overcome what this addiction has been supplementing you with, your frequency with, right? So you have to find a way to manage your own frequency. So for me, when it deals with the self-love and the self-worth, it had to be going back to that same anchor point that I put in for myself. How do I really love myself? Not only do I love myself by doing the things I need to do, but it's like giving myself time to just indulge in my childhood games. Like gaming, that's self-love. Giving myself sleep, that's self-love. Just not responding to people sometimes so I can give myself a breather, that's self-love. But then it's also self-love and self-worth when I do enact with these people, because one, that's who I am. That's who I desire to be. I desire to help. I desire to have this message. I have this purpose that I've formulated and believe in myself to help others overcome and rise in their own frequency and consciousness. So that is someone that I desired to be. And these addictions, as I started to map it out, they just slowly became a frequency that didn't resonate anymore, and that I leveled up in a different way. So now it's not a supplement of the addictions, it's a supplement of, can I give myself these things, making myself some food, or taking myself out for dinner and dessert, or just giving myself time to spend with Freya, and getting myself clothes and allowing myself to go on trips, and getting myself the rest that I need, or engaging with people in social activities that I want to go and indulge in, or focusing on the business and the things that I love to do, the podcast, and putting the energy in that. Like, then it became that. Then it's like, whoa, that's who I desire to be. Well, okay, cool. So let's just focus on that. And that almost became an overriding point of like the addiction space. And so for someone else, it may look a little different. But that's just an example of when you're talking about these addictions supplementing your current feelings about yourself and your beliefs about yourself. You have to find what that is actually, I wouldn't say maybe compensating for. So when we're talking about, doing the things for other people, it's okay, I can do that. But is that an addiction? Or is that a part of me that I'm not giving to me? Because I think there's a fine line between that. Maybe addicting to be this giving energy, but is that in alignment with who you are? Okay, then find balance to not only, when you're giving to others, you have to recognize that same giving energy is also the same energy that you can give to yourself. Like, that's still giving energy if you're doing something for yourself and receiving. It's both. Because also when you give externally, you're also receiving internally. So you have to recognize you can still give internally and receive internally. And it becomes this beautiful thing of like, whoa, I can actually do that. I can sit and meditate. I can move my body if I need to. I can give myself time to sleep in, or I can get up early and do those things and see how that feels. It is all about balance and grace. And I love that I'm starting to feel that, and I'm seeing how I can help others get there. Is the big goal. Because I am my own science experiment. I say this all the time. But you have to be your own science experiment. I can only give you the little tools and things to help you overcome. So hopefully, in this episode, y'all found a little bit of tools and maybe a little bit of curiosities to kind of see where I'm putting in energy of things that aren't necessarily in alignment with who I am. Maybe an addiction, habit, pattern. I would say they all are one of the same thing. Addiction just sounds a little stronger and harsher, but habit, same thing. Pattern, same thing. A cycle, same thing. Any questions pop up?
Yes. How did you know? Well, not like necessarily for you, because I feel like we touched on this a little bit. Maybe if you want to go more in depth. But I was gonna say, I didn't know if you were wrapping up.
We're getting there.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, 10, maybe a question for them to linger on, maybe from the episode.
Ooh.
Because I came up with
journal prompt.
Yes, dude.
Oh.
All right, so
cue Nicki's journal prompt starting now, episode 17.
All right. So, why is it so hard to choose what's good for us?
Ooh.
And I know you touched on that, but like to think personally.
Yeah, personally, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Interesting. I like that. And what can you do to anchor yourself to choose the good for you? What's good for you? I'd say take it a step further.
I thought you were asking me because I was trying to come up with an answer. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah. See, that one got me thinking. So.
Yeah. So I like that. All right. Well, we're gonna end there. I think we can definitely go into more on it, but I think that's.
Do you want to? I'm
waiting to see if there's anything else that they wanted to clarify on addiction. I think they're good. I think we're all good. I think I'm good. I feel sated. All right. Again, appreciate all y'all for tuning in. If there's anything that you want to talk about or anything you want us to kind of talk about, swim with, or break down together, feel free to comment below on the YouTube page. Send me an email. I'm doing my best to get to posting to Instagram. I promise. It's just taking me a minute to go through and clip edits. I also have a full-time job, so 2 full-time jobs. So 2 full-time and part-time. Anyways, doesn't matter. Comment below, subscribe, YouTube, find us on Instagram. TikTok, we're on there too. And I just am in a space of gratitude. It's just kind of giving gratitude for everybody here that tunes in. And hope you guys like the sets. We kind of found some fun stuff here at Goodwill. And we are working on figuring out the details for a live episode. I think we're going to post about it a little bit. We're working on how we can make that happen. Maybe through like a Discord channel where we do like a live.
That would be so fun, dude.
Yeah, I have something set up for that, so maybe we can make that happen, and we'll put it out there, promote it. Maybe we'll have to do like a Tuesday evening or something, so that way more people can be on it.
Yeah.
If they're like working or something like that, we might have to do that.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. Cool. Cue the end music. Outro music. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Swimming with Sepsey. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and follow us on our YouTube channel, or listen on all platforms or wherever you get your podcasts. Any support is greatly appreciated. You can find us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/swimmingwithsepsey. You can also follow us on Instagram at swimmingwithsepsey. And if something did arise today, maybe you need some clarification or want some help or just need some guidance and don't know where to go, feel free to reach out to me via email, swimmingwithsepsey@gmail.com, or you can find my website at solelyliving.com, where I offer coaching packages, readings, and things of that nature. Again, thank you for tuning in. Very grateful. Namaste. And we'll find you on the next episode of Swimming with Sepsey.